So the purpose of tonight is to talk about a proposal that the City of Cleveland and Carnegie Companies are making for the future of the Clifton Boulevard portion of this site. That's what you're going to see in a few minutes. And the agenda for tonight is going to be Councilman Westbrook is here. He's going to give you an update on just kind of an overview on the history and overview of the site, the history of the site, and what's kind of transpired in the recent past. Then you're going to have a presentation from the Carnegie Companies and their team. So they're going to take you through a concept that they're putting forward. And then after that, Chris Warren from the city is also here. He's going to give you some brief comments on the city process. Also in attendance is Councilman Zone. After last night, congratulations, Matt. He'll be representing this area starting in January. So that's what you can expect. Very good. Okay. So, Councilman Westbrook overview. Carnegie Company is going to give their presentation. Chris Warren's going to give some comments about city process, and then at the end of that, we're going to have a question and answer session. So, just some brief ground rules here before we kick off. We're going to go through all those presentations and all those comments, and we'd ask you to, as you go along, I'm sure you're going to have comments. They may be answered in the course of these presentations, so we're going to wait till the end to have any question and answer session. If you can just make a note mentally or write down what your question might be, we are going to have a question and answer session at the end. Our goal is to get out of here by 8 p.m. Now, some of you may want to get out of here by 7, but we're going to try and get out of here by 8 p.m. We want to have a thorough discussion. We hope to have at least an hour of discussion after these presentations. So in terms of ground rules, what we'd ask is that I haven't counted here, but I would suggest there's probably at least 150 people here. So we may have a lot of people who want to ask a question. We're going to ask you to limit yourself to one question or comment and just be succinct with it, because we want to make sure everybody's voice is heard. So if you could please keep that in mind as you're thinking about what you want to ask. I'm going to walk through the crowd. There's another microphone here, so I'll walk through the crowd. We'll do it, one person at a time. We're going to ask that nobody shout out anything or talk over people. We want just a civic discourse here. We want to have a good session. So if you could abide by that. And really, I know that you're going to get an update from Councilman Westbrook about the entire site, but the focus tonight is going to be on Clifton. And so there'll be an update on what's going on with the church. There'll be an update on Lake Avenue. Councilman Westbrook, Councilman Zone have committed to have future meetings, both with the stakeholders and I think with the larger group, about what could happen on Lake. But tonight we really want to focus on Clifton. So if that could be the conversation tonight, to have a whole conversation on the whole block and everything with Lake, I think we'd probably be here for at least a day. So, we want to make good use of our time. And then, when you ask your question, just give us your first name, where you live, and then we'll go with that. And then Carnegie Company has asked that please no camera or video taking of the presentation, because this is a conceptual thing. This is not set in stone. That's why we're here tonight. It's to present a concept to you. It's going to evolve. This is not the final product, so we don't want this being put out in the community as people saying, here's a photo of what's going to happen, because that's why we're here tonight. So with that being said, I think maybe now, Councilman Westbrook, if you want to come up and give your comments. Thank you. Mike.
How much rope do I have here? Good evening, everybody. Come on, let's everybody take a big, relaxing inhale and exhale. And I want to start by, first of all, thanking Louisa May Alcott, your school, for being open all day yesterday for voting, and now again this evening for this very, very important community meeting. So I want to thank Tom Cole and the custodian and Mrs. Eileen Mangan-Stahl, who I'm not sure is here, but she has so many trusted people like Ms. Gravy over here that she can count on. So please give Louisa May Alcott a big round of applause. I'm also going to ask the stander-uppers to please come and find a place to sit so everybody can be comfortable. And if you have to leave early, you can leave early, but please know that there's enough seating, although it's starting to go kind of fast. So there are seats over here. And we can't force you, so I know you'll keep standing. All right. So I got the message. I got the message. A couple of other introductions. You heard and know that Matt Zone is here. Matt won, one of those highly competitive races where you're running against yourself, which is always a tough opponent to have. But we want to acknowledge that Matt Zone will be the council person for the area that we're going to be discussing tonight, and he will become the council person for Ward 15, which will go from West 50th Street to the Lakewood border, I-90 north to Lake Erie. So, Matt, again, we want to welcome you, and please let him know how much you appreciate it. This neighborhood is so vibrant, it does take two council people to represent it. Councilwoman Donna Brady is also here. Donna is the council person newly re-elected again in Council Ward 11. And her ward includes parts of Baltic and West Boulevard, parts of Clifton. So Donna, we're very, very pleased that you're here tonight also. And just in case we don't have enough Cleveland City Council people, we're very, very happy to be joined by, everybody says, the best representative of West 117th, Mary Louise Madigan, Councilwoman in Lakewood. And where is she? I grew up, I had hoped to be like Mary Louise, but it didn't seem like it was going to happen. So it looks like they're going to be moving on here. And we also have other representatives of Lakewood, including the Lakewood Planning Director, Drew Siley. Where's Drew? There is Drew. And also members of the Planning Commission, Carl Orban, who was a parishioner at St. Rose and knows this community very well, and I'm sure others from Lakewood. So I don't want to, and I hope you'll excuse me because usually I'm kind of an off-the-cuff guy, even though I give a lot of thought to what I have to say. But tonight, because of the importance of the issues and the topics, and also the depth and the history, I wanted to have some cheat sheet of my own. So if you catch me glancing down, I hope you'll please understand. Over a year ago, the Carnegie Company, which is the owner of 3/4 of the block of Clifton, West 116th, West to West 117th, and has owned it for about 60 years, I believe, came to me and indicated that they were looking forward to retiring the real estate that was there and capturing new retail opportunities for the block. And as we talked about it, it seemed like this is one of those once in a several generation opportunities because of the 60-year history that they had owned what was there. Thinking down the road, maybe another 60 years, well, Matt will be the councilman, but I won't. It seemed like the right thing to do was to talk to them about a more comprehensive development of the site, trying to achieve what I've heard people say is the highest and best uses for the site. So we discussed that and thus began something that I've come to realize myself and our council people are used to, public process, but private developers are not as used to laying everything out and having a room full of 150 people interested in the work that they're doing. But this community is so unique it has such high expectations, that is the approach that we took. And so for the first time tonight, we're very eager to share with you the product of this examination and this planning and this work, this comprehensive approach. Now, I know that everyone here joined, whether it's Lakewood, Cleveland, neighborhood, merchant, commuter, whatever draws us to this community, to this neighborhood, we know the value of this site. We know that this site is a gateway to Cleveland. We know that this site has even greater potential than what could even be housed on it because of the 30,000 cars that go by it every day causes retailers to be very interested, but it's only one city block. We know that the history of the area, of the community, that one of the vibrant lifelines for this neighborhood has been transit and the use of Clifton as a major transit corridor. And we know that embarking on next year, Joe Schaefer is here from RTA, that RTA is going to be undertaking a major transformation of Clifton Boulevard. So we know we all know how highly valuable it is. What we've worked on is how to best reach the value of the block. We know that it has historic, and we've recognized how this block needs to be treated. So the city, with Goodell Improvements involvement, and the city designated Clifton and West Boulevard as a historic district some time ago because of the value of the community. The city landmarked in 1995 the Fifth Church of Christ Science because a retail interest wanted to take it down, for a parking lot. So the city, then under then Councilman Ray Bianca, designated it a historic landmark. In 2002 and 2003, the city convened a stakeholder group, a diverse group of voices and interests from the community to help the city listen well to the community and be guided by the community. And this stakeholder group helped us create a request for proposals that went after the city took ownership of the Fifth Church. The stakeholders group helped us craft that request for proposal and issue that to the private sector to find ways to engage the private sector in the restoration of the Fifth Church. And that stakeholder group continues to operate today, partly as advisory, partly as guiding, partly as a sounding board of the diverse interest within the community. And that group has done an excellent job and will continue to do an excellent job, and we appreciate them for their work. These kind of efforts have also been undergirded by now Mayor Frank Jackson and previous Mayor Jane Campbell. Their cabinets and their staff, they've all recognized how incredibly important this block and how we approach this block it is to this community, how highly treasured it is, and also how valuable the treatment of this block is to the entire city. That's why Goodell Improvement and I also felt that at this stage it was important to engage. You met Mike Graham and also David Fitz, and Maura is here tonight also, and strategy design partners. I'm a firm believer that good public process can create good outcomes, and I'm not so confident that the city is always the best guide at good public process, and especially in something as complex as this, it seemed to be important to bring in some skilled resources that would help us navigate through these months of making good decision making. So we do want to thank them, and you're going to hear more from them later. And I've already acknowledged Matt and Donna and the entire City Council has followed this block and followed these issues very closely. In May, the stakeholders group convened, and in a visioning session led by Strategy Design Partners, they put on whiteboard and on easels and all this people's core vision and sense of what the values are for the Clifton Boulevard, for the Clifton area neighborhood, and for this block. And in that session, such concepts as high value, appropriate to the community, vibrant, pedestrian scale, include housing, respect the historic urban design, not suburban. These are some of the concepts that came out of that visioning session. Now, I believe that what you're going to see tonight meets many, if not in some of your opinion, all of the concepts that were, if you will, stated as design guidelines, as wished for outcomes. And what we're going to see is a high-end and vibrant retail that is unique and appropriate to this community. You're going to see the highest form of urban design standards, including buildings that are drawn to the sidewalk and adhering to the street corners. You're going to see buildings with front doors, just like they were in the streetcar days, right on Clifton Boulevard, facing the sidewalk, on the sidewalk. You're going to see building materials that are appropriate to a historic district. You're going to see those storefronts integrated. And Joe, again, we're so glad you're here because RTA has been a historic lifeline to this community, connecting it to the entire region. You're going to see how the shops integrate with the planned streetscape and design of Clifton. You're going to see a concept of squaring off the block. Most of you probably know the north end of the block is residential zone. The south end is retail, commercial. And but there is, due to ownership and zoning change that occurred, there's a quadrant that goes north to Lake. You're going to see a concept that takes an entire band of property from West 116th to West 117th along Lake that can be further designed by community input and by the city as either green space or residential on Lake Avenue. And finally, this plan recognizes that the elements that I've just touched on and given you a little preview of cannot be accomplished with the Fifth Church standing as it is today. And considerable work is being performed with community input and by the city to determine the feasibility of saving elements of the Fifth Church and at what cost and for what purpose. So in closing, I want to again express my appreciation to Strategy Design Partners. I'm looking forward to a very, very vigorous and engaged presentation and discussion this evening. And I want to tell you again how much I treasure this deep level of interest on the part of the community, this deep level of engagement that all of you have. And so now, let's get on with the presentation. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilman, for those words. Now we're going to hear from the Carnegie Companies and their group. I think, Peter, you're going to lead it off, Peter Meisel, so thank you.
I want to thank everybody for being here tonight, and actually I want to first thank Jay for doing my presentation for me. So it made it very easy. But seriously, I also want to thank Jay. He was a little humble because he talked about, I think, starting this process in a few years ago. Well, I know that when we started this process, you and I were a lot younger, and I know one, I didn't have any gray hair. So, we have been involved with this property, as Jay indicated, for a long time, actually since before I was born. And we do understand the significance of the block to the city and to the neighborhood. For the past 15 or so years, we have looked at a number of ideas for redevelopment, some with partners who have brought some very creative thoughts to the process, and some on our own. For various reasons, none of those concepts have really gotten beyond that. Nothing has gone beyond the conceptual stage. But the plan that we will be presenting to you tonight, we hope to take beyond the conceptual stage and to reality. And that plan will bring a grocery operator back to the neighborhood, but not just a simple grocery operator. What you're going to see tonight is a concept that is unique to Northeast Ohio, and actually, at this point, unique to the Giant Eagle organization. Deirdre, if you want to pull up the site plan for me. What you see here are two buildings fronting Clifton. The larger building here on West 116th Street is going to be a two-story building. It will be operated by Giant Eagle, and it will be branded a Market District Express. Todd Waldo from Giant Eagle is here tonight with us, and in a few minutes he is going to take you through a detailed presentation on that concept. This second building, the smaller building, is envisioned to contain 4 to 5 specialty service-oriented tenants. They will be tenants that complement the Market District concept, and along with Market District will bring people to the center, and as Jay had mentioned, people to the Clifton Boulevard streetscape. These spaces will all front on Clifton, and you'll also see there's an entrance here to the Market District store on Clifton, as well as a second entrance here. Before Todd gets up and speak, I want to bring up our architect, Brian Fabo of Fabo Enterprises. He's going to take you through the site plan in a little bit more detail. Then Todd will talk about the Market District Express concept, and then Brian's going to come back up and show you the conceptual elevation for this smaller building. Right there. So, Brian?
Good evening, everybody. Again, my name is Brian Fabo. I'm president of Fabo Enterprises, and I've been retained by Carnegie to be the design architect of record for this project. What I can do is just walk you through some of the basic concepts of the site plan. One of the important things with this site, as has been alluded to in the prior dialogue, is the urban nature of the site and the importance of using the popular and well-established design guidelines for urban design. And what that really entails is pulling the buildings up to Clifton and allowing the entrances for pedestrian activity on Clifton. This block has not seen a vibrant pedestrian activity on the north side of Clifton for quite a long time. This building, as we talked about, will house possibly 4 to 5 small tenants. Again, with the entrances here, sort of integrating in with the RTA streetscape. We also have a pedestrian promenade that you can see sort of cutbacks in from the site. The entrance would be sort of facing each other here between this end tenant and the Market District store. There would be an opportunity for a very pedestrian-friendly link that connects Clifton into the back of the building, so people that are parking have a attractive way to come down and enter into the building and interact with Clifton. Another thing that we have done is work with RTA in the placement of the bus shelter, shifting it a little bit more east than it currently sits. What this allows is that you don't have the parked buses sort of interacting with the sort of central hub of the pedestrian activity, and also gives a little better distance for when they exit the stall or the stand to get over into the turn lane and make the southern movement onto 117th. The site has been designed with no vehicular access off of Clifton or Lake. All access is on 117th here and 116th. The site is designed so the trucks, delivery trucks and garbage trucks, which are a needed part of any retail establishment, can all enter and exit off of 117th and not really interfere much with the rest of the neighborhood. There also is a rear entrance that is coming into the parking lot to the Market District building. The other thing that we are proposing is a employee parking area, and one of the things that we've done is we've shifted the parking lot very close to the south, to the adjoining parking lot behind the adjoining building, allowing for a larger landscape buffer between that parking lot and the residential properties to the north. And that is it. Todd?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Todd Waldo with John Eagle. I want to first thank you all for taking time out of your busy day to join us here tonight. Please, sir, if you can hold your questions until the end of the presentation, we appreciate that. Hopefully everybody can hear me tonight. Again, I have the distinct pleasure of introducing to all of you all our brand new Market District Express concept store. This is one that would be the first that we would bring to Northeast Ohio. It is a unique concept. We're extremely excited about the opportunity to return to Clifton Boulevard, and it is something that we put a lot of thought into. And I hope that you all will be impressed with what you see tonight. But it's been a lot of thought. There's putting a lot of respect into the character of the neighborhood, and also there's been a lot of adjectives thrown out tonight about dynamic, vibrant, engaging, and I think that hopefully we've achieved that with what you're viewing right now. This is the view from Clifton Boulevard. That is the main entrance to the store. It is a two-story urban concept store, and by that, this is something focusing on the fresh concept of the Market District. I don't know how many folks in here, by raise of hands, have ever been to one of our Market District stores. Okay, hopefully, maybe Solon that opened up a couple of months ago. Currently have 8 Market District stores in operation, 4 in the Pittsburgh area, and then 4 in Ohio. We've got one that's under construction now in Strongsville. Another one is in construction on the west side of Columbus. One that will actually be opening up tomorrow in Greene, Ohio, and then one that will be breaking ground early part of next year in Cuyahoga Falls. But all of those, everything that you have seen to date, although similar, is not completely comparable to what we'll be discussing tonight. So the two-story concept store that we're talking about, 15,000 square feet footprint, 30,000 square feet total. The ground floor will be composed of, again, a fresh concept, fresh produce, fresh prepared foods, fresh deli, fresh cheeses, really appealing to a crowd that can do in-between shopping and whatnot, as opposed to having to go down to 117th and I-90. This is something that will create a very intimate experience for the shopper. The second story, and this is, again, a brand new concept, would be composed of a restaurant with about 100 seats, interior to the building, but also have a beer, wine, and liquor offering within that second floor as well, complete with both a wine and beer bar. And as you see from this elevation, this area at the front facade, that actually is a portion of outdoor seating area that would engage the the public side of Clifton Boulevard. Really try to bring a lot of life to this building with the windows and whatnot that we have proposed as well. Trying to give it a very lively appearance, and again, bring a lot of the action that's happening inside to the outside through clear glazing, visibility, to get that feel of of a very lively atmosphere and something that, again, is very engaging with the environment.
Quick question. What street are we standing on looking at this?
Again, this is a view from Clifton Boulevard. So, they're closer to 117th, closer to 117th. So, as Jay mentioned earlier, we're very respectful of the situation with being essentially the gateway to Cleveland, and wanted to produce a building that folks would be proud of, and one that also would have a tremendous amount of curb appeal, something that would be unique, something that still would fit within the character of the neighborhood, and hopefully we've achieved that. As been discussed earlier tonight, this is conceptual in nature. It's continuing to evolve and refine as we go through this process, but really trying to have a lot of rich architectural materials, detailing, some fenestration within the building as well, and catering to some of the activity that's happening inside and out. We are proposing a cafe area on the first floor that would open up until the pedestrian corridor that is going to be created between the Market District Express building and also the adjacent retail building. Again, the focus is on engaging the pedestrian environment as much as possible and creating some life to this corner. If you've been to the Market District in Solon, you're very familiar with the prepared foods area, the restaurant area, and things of that sort. We're trying to emulate that with this facility. So what I'm going to show you next are photos from the Solon Market District store. Again, these are sample photographs. The decor, the interior design, some of the offerings that the Market District Express will have will be very similar and comparable to that, but again, not an exact replica. So this is a view of our restaurant cafe area. We have a coffee and juice bar within the Solon Market District with pastry offerings and things of that sort. But one of the biggest draws is the restaurant area. And as you can see by the interior design, it is something that is more of a restaurant type of feel. You don't feel like you're going into a grocery store to enjoy a nice meal. You feel like you're going to a restaurant, just so happens to be within a grocery store. High level of finishes, that's actually the bar area. And you can also see with some of the fixtures and furnishings and whatnot, on a higher end, something very sophisticated, and also provides for a nice dining atmosphere. Go to the next slide. This is, again, we always like to recognize our chefs and our chefs in action within the kitchen area. There's a lot of activity within the building with the essentially the food court type of feel at this facility, given the size of the facility and whatnot. This is a 92,000 square foot store. So we're taking a lot of those offerings within that store, compressing it into an intimate environment with the Market District Express. So it just gives you a flavor of some of the chef's quality preparations and whatnot. And again, all of that is meant to have an open kitchen so customers can see into it. Provides more excitement, a little bit more of an interesting dining environment as well. This is a view of our prepared foods area. Again, this is a very limited view. We have approximately 15,000 square feet within the store that's dedicated to prepared foods. So again, just to put that in context, our facility that we're proposing here is a total of 30,000 square feet, 15,000 on each floor. So wish we had more space, but to create a unique type of a store, we had to be able to compress that some. So you're looking at a prepared foods bar, you're looking at a sushi area as well, and then soup bar, prepared meals. Everybody is looking for convenience type of situations where on your way home you can pick up a freshly prepared meal, go home and eat it, and serve that to your family, or actually come and partake in a nice meal at the store itself. But there's a lot of options for people on the go and the people that have a little bit more time that want to spend 30 minutes or an hour at our store to enjoy the ambiance. Our beer, wine, and liquor departments have been under a very big revamping the past couple of years, and this is a result of some of the vision that we've created to really create a nice, again, sophisticated layout of both a wine selection, beer selection, and you can see with the decor that we have with the signage, it is different than your signature Giant Eagle store. It's a much different look inside and out from the facility at 117th and 990. So again, floor finishes, decor, the open ceiling, the signage, again gives it a much more refined look. These are some of our service counters at the bakery and the deli. Again, all of these components will be within the store itself on the first floor, trying to create more of a almost like European market where you have a lot of the product that's visible for customers. You see the employees that are actually preparing in this instance, the breads, the pastries, the things of that sort, really getting the smells throughout the store as well, so you feel like you're involved in much more than just a grocery store. Our fresh side, which has gone through a pretty big redesign over the years as well, trying to focus on a lot of the colors of the fruits and vegetables to give it a nice presentation. You can also see from this the difference in the decor, the different call-outs and whatnot. And again, we are very proud of supporting local and homegrown farmers and their goods and supplies as well. So a lot of that is offered at our market district stores where we have a larger capacity, more floor area to accommodate that. Some of our specialties, again, this is just very limited. It's a big store. We could have pictures for days, but and all these pictures you see really don't do it justice. I would recommend that if you have an opportunity, take a short drive out east to Solon to check out that store. But these are some of the specialty items within the store that we would be able to bring to the Market District Express store with bulk goods, individual ingredients for folks that may be specialty chefs to choose their own specialty ingredients in the quantities they may want. Also have a limited candy area and floral shop and whatnot. So we're really just trying to make this an extremely unique experience for our customers. We've always been very proud of the fact that we feel that we have a very world-class shopping experience for folks, and we want to extend that to make it a first-class and world-class dining experience as well. So with that, we're very hopeful and thankful for your support and hope that folks will appreciate the tremendous amount of hard work and vision that have gone into creating a store like this and working with the Carnegie Group over probably a couple of years or so now to produce this concept. And again, having the opportunity to present it and make this return to Clifton Boulevard with the first store of its kind in the Cleveland area. So thank you very much. I'll turn it over to Brian to discuss the retail architecture.
Thank you. This is the Clifton, or the proposed elevation of the Clifton facade for the adjacent small shops. And in any sort of development, the anchor building or the anchor tenant sort of sets the stage with materiality and so forth. So what we've done is try to pick up some of the similar elements and cues, like the cornice molding, highlighting the corners of the building, the mix of materials, the uplighting, up and down wall sconces. Again, you can see all the storefronts bringing the activity to Clifton. Small metal canopies, whether they're angled or flat, sort of giving some variety of texture and dimension across the front of that building. And then one of the other things that is going to be very important, this elevation is along the pedestrian promenade between. You see we extend the glazing down along there. So again, as you're in between there, you've got seeing the activity of the windows so that you can see in, see out, bringing more life to that promenade. The same thing on the 117th elevation, actually wrapping the glass along 117th to bring some of that vibrancy around the corner, breaking up the facade and allowing some bookending with some more prominent elements, just to try to tie it all together. Thank you.
That is the end of our part of the presentation. I'm going to turn it back over to our facilitators, and then I believe Chris Warren has a few things to say as well. I want to thank everybody again.
Chris Warren is going to talk a little bit about the city process.
Good afternoon. I will be pretty quick. The processes that will be required for what you just heard to happen through the city are as follows. First, proposal calls for building 2 new buildings, parking lot, related promenades. It also calls for tearing down a church. And let's be clear about that. That's what it calls for. So for that to happen, because this is in a landmarks district, it involves a landmark, the church, there will be a need for 2 actions by the Landmarks Commission. And prior to vote by the Landmarks Commission, by review and registering of a point of view by a local design review committee. Some of those members here tonight. And that is required for a permit to be issued for the construction of the 2 new buildings, the grocery store and the retail building, and required a certificate of appropriateness for issuance of a permit by the city, because we own the building, of the church. So one of the things, as Jay Westbrook indicated, we are looking at the city is, well, on the demolition of the church, is there any opportunity for salvaging material, architectural elements, reusing material on the site, on the remaining land, particularly the portico, or within whatever else gets built on the remaining land? That's a work in progress. But there will need to be public hearings, design review committee, vote by the Landmarks Commission on both the permit for the shopping center and for the permit for the demolition. In addition to that, this development will require the sale by the city of a land bank lot. It's actually a city parcel on West 116th Street. It's on the east side mid block of West 116th Street. See the kind of orphan parking lot on the right? That's actually 2 parcels. The parcel on the top, or the north side, is owned by the city. The intent by the Carnegie Group is to utilize, and by Giant Eagle, is to utilize that parking for employee parking for the grocery store. And to do that, we will need to go through the city's legislative process to sell that land at fair market value to the Carnegie Group for the parking lot. So that's another process to go through. Then we are committed to continuing to work with Councilman Westbrook and then Councilman Zone and the stakeholders group to then talk about, if that goes forward, what to do with the remaining land owned by the city on the Lake Avenue side. This concept that you see on the screen presupposes that the city would swap roughly half of the land underneath the church for part of the land they owned right there in that northeast corner, to create a continuous swath of land from 117th to 116th that has a pretty good geometry potentially for housing. And part of one concept, there are multiple concepts that are out there for how to use this land that have surfaced at the stakeholders meetings. One is to build townhouses. For the city to go through an RFP process, recruit a housing developer, build high-quality townhouses, probably for sale. That happens incidentally, we would have to rezone the property because the property is now zoned single-family, not appropriate for townhouses, and that would have to go through Cleveland City Council. Other concepts have come out is to find resources to build a park or a grand civic area, potentially reusing elements, architectural elements of the church along the way, again, particularly the portico. So very good kind of conceptual work has been done by folks in the community and across the city on that. So we're going to need to make a decision on that if we get to that point. And if it's housing, that again would require the city to go through a legislative process to authorize the sale of the land. If it's a public park, that would require the city to find what today it doesn't have, just to be brutally honest, which is the dollars to build and maintain a park, where we're having a hard time building and maintaining our existing parks. We'd have to figure that out. And that's not figured out. Those are the public processes we would need to go forward with to accomplish that picture. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chris. So it's about 7 p.m. right now. As I stated early on, our goal is 8 p.m. We'd like to do an efficient question and answer process now. So we do have a little microphone here. I'm going to walk around the crowd. We're going to try to get to everybody who wants to have a question. So we're asking that you limit yourselves to one question or comment and be succinct and to the point with it. The officials from the city and the Carnegie Group are going to be here to answer questions. As I mentioned early on tonight, we're hoping to focus on Clifton. I know that you just got a lot of information about Lake and the church, but we're going to have more process about that. We want to be, if we want to make good use of our time, we'd like to focus on what your reaction is to these retail concepts and any comments you have on that. There'll be future process. Again, there'll be future process on the issue of the church, Lake, townhomes, green space, what should it be. So, as I go around, please, when I put the microphone in front of your mouth, just tell us your name, your first name, where you live. If you need a visual up here, just say, can you put the site plan back up, or can you put the elevation of the grocery store back up? We can handle that. So, all right. This microphone is louder. So, who has a question? So, your first name, where you live, and what's your comment or question?
Okay, my name's Dave, and I live on Lake Avenue. My question, it's a very fine presentation. My question regards our representative from Giant Eagle, in that the size of this building is about a third of the size of the Solon site. You spoke about compression. Will that be in the limiting the number of departments, or will it be compressing the size of each individual in-service department with a cut or a minimization of depth and breadth of product line?
Todd?
Okay, to speak to your question, thank you for that. It will be a combination of both things. There will be obviously elimination of some things like meat, seafood, some departments like that, and then just a compression of some of the departments, deli, bakery, main grocery aisles, prepared foods, cafes, things of that sort. That will be on the first floor. 15,000 square feet, very limited. But again, it's an alternative to the 117th store where you have 92,000 square feet. And that allows us an opportunity to really do something grand with this restaurant concept on the second floor. So it's a combination of both of those things.
That particular store in 117th for special order items, perhaps?
There potentially may be, based on the capacities at 117, so we may rely on a portion of, like the prepared foods area to supplement that, but that's still really under development at this time.
Okay. Your name, where you live, and your question.
My name is Susan Zimmerman. I live on West Boulevard. I know this is like the 27th iteration of this plan, but everybody keeps talking about this gateway at 117th Street, but what you have at 117th Street is a basic box rectangle building B. Why isn't Giant Eagle on the corner?
So, who'd like to comment on that?
There really is a combination of two things. One of the things is that if you look at the design of the Giant Eagle store, had we moved it to the 117th Street corner, we would have ended up with service areas sitting between the two buildings. And that would have seriously impacted the attractiveness and the openness of that promenade and that courtyard. And that was really, because we did look at that concept, but really the issue was that with the way the store needs to lay out, so that you can have the glazing that you saw, you can have the opening up onto the street, we would have had all that service area between the two buildings. And that was something that we were trying to avoid. That was really the primary reason. The other factor was that one of the tenants we're talking to for the small building is as our facilitators put it, a financial services provider, and being on that corner made a lot more sense for them. But the primary reason was really the layout of the Giant Eagle store and the fact that we wanted to keep the service areas away from the pedestrian walkway.
So can you make that corner prettier?
We can try, yes. I mean, we are going to have glass around to the extent that we're allowed to extend that glass along 117th Street, and that's really going to be up to the tenant that ends up going in there. We certainly are open to that. We think.
I heard there was going to be an arch created for some of the elements of the church.
That was on a previous plan that we were not able to accomplish because it required zoning changes that the neighborhood was not in favor of.
Okay, thank you. Sir?
My name is Joseph. I live on Lake Avenue, and I want to know the exact ownership. Stanley A. Meisel is the one who has owned the parking lot, the whole area for a long time. And then it was Samco. Now, does Carnegie Companies own the property, and do you have any written commitments from Giant Eagle, written, signed, and approved? Thank you.
Well, Stanley A. Meisel is my father. Samco is a company that he owns, and with Samco, Stanley A. Meisel, exactly. And actually with various estate, my father's 86 now, and with various estate planning things that have gone on, the ownership, without getting into details, has shifted. Carnegie Companies and Samco have been affiliated for many, many years. We have been working in conjunction. I mean, I basically manage all the properties that Samco holds. And so this site is controlled by Carnegie and its affiliates. As far as a agreement with Giant Eagle, we do not have a lease. We do, however, have a letter of intent signed with them. Letters of intent, if you know, are not legally binding. However, we have been working with Giant Eagle for a very long time. We've gone down this road together, and we have every confidence that what you're seeing here is going to be accomplished if the neighborhood desires it.
Tell us your name and where you live, your question.
My name's Deirdre Chaplin, and I live at 116th in Clifton. And I'm wondering if the community and the city council would be willing to commit to have a forum like this to discuss the green space area involving the church as a concept for us to vote and put our ideas into it. And if there would be any way that it could become a part of the Metro Park system through the state with Edgewater and combine in that area. But I don't know if it's an option, but I was just wondering if it would be a possibility.
Thanks for your question. I don't know if Jay or Matt, Chris.
Let me try this with Deidre. First of all, I think, I hope, and this is going to be in everybody's own perception, but I hope that you've seen and heard and feel that the city has been as open with your vision and with the opportunities as anyone possibly could. Both myself and Chris Warren indicated that with this proposed land swap that there would be future discussion about what happens to that band of property. There's nothing in the steps that Chris outlined that the city would engage in to create the ban that would then limit the city or determine the outcome of that discussion. So we're now what I can't speak for is Metro Parks. They just got an improved levy, but they just took over the long neglected worst park in the city, but the grandest and greatest lakefront park in the state. So I think they have a little bit of their hands full, but I don't want to speak for them. But I think that as a community, we ought to be realistic about what they have bitten off and what they're trying to now chew. So, and if you haven't been to Edgewater Park lately, please go. We have a great park at Edgewater. So. I think that the presentations have identified the two conceptual uses: green space or housing. We've, I think, appropriately indicated that would be a future discussion that Mayor Jackson and his cabinet and Matt Zone, as the city officials, would be overseeing in the weeks and months to come as that unfolds. I think that if I could also interject, not being an architect, but forget who used the word. I think Chris used the word geometry to the block. I think in a way that does speak to itself, and I hope people see that regardless of what the eventual use would be of having a residentially zoned area have a continuous line from one side, from West 116th to West 117th. So,
Thank you.
Mike. Can I hold it? All right.
Good evening. It was a great presentation. My name is Bo Rashetsky. I live on West 114th in Clifton. My question to the city of Cleveland is, why do we have to choose a vendor out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, when we have vendors out of Cleveland, Ohio, both Dave's and Heinen's? And if we must choose a foreign vendor, why not go with somebody who's more conducive with this area, like Trader Joe's? That is my question. I'm not real happy with Giant Eagle, because Giant Eagle has been basically spiking the prices up on the city of Cleveland citizens, robbing them. So I'm not real happy with you guys. I never will be happy with you guys. There is no way that I would feel comfortable you being this close to my house. Okay? And by the way, I am a City of Cleveland employee. So this does not really sit well with me. I think we need another vendor here. Somebody from the City of Cleveland. Somebody who has an interest with the city of Cleveland, not somebody from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. By the way, the Steelers suck. But,
Okay, I think we got the point.
That's
Good-
enough.
good- Last point was good.
All right,
Steelers
I
was
think
good.
I can answer that question probably better than the city can. You mentioned Heinen's, you mentioned Dave's. We approached them both. They both turned the site down. Heinen's turned the site down because they were too busy building a store in Chicago to want to come to this site. Dave's turned it down because Dave's made a decision to turn it down. We also approached Trader Joe's. You may know of a small development called Crocker Park. Trader Joe's is in Crocker Park. They looked at this site, they looked at Crocker Park, they drew their circle around their store there. They determined this site was too close to Crocker Park for them to be interested in this site. So we turned to other vendors. The vendor that brought us the best idea, the most unique idea, and the idea that we believe is the most conducive to this neighborhood and will bring the biggest benefit to this neighborhood is Giant Eagle. I am sorry that you don't like them. Everybody has their choice to shop at a store or not, but we believe that this store is going to benefit the neighborhood and will benefit the commuters who travel up and down Clifton between the city of Cleveland and their homes further to the west, and will benefit those who take the bus line up and down the street as well.
Hi, my name is Bart Ryan. I live in Lake Edge, and you're absolutely right. I talked to Tom Heinen myself, and I said, hey, here's this great church. You could turn it into a wine store. It'd be fantastic. Help the community and everything else like that. And he denied it. He said, no, we can't do it. It's too close to Rocky River. And I'm sure Trader Joe's has something to do with the Aldi's because it's a sister store and they don't want to steal away from that. So you're absolutely telling us the truth, and I appreciate that. I appreciate all that you're doing for this. I just wish to ask Jay, is there any continuation of the idea of building the edge? So you're going to have this wonderful feature here on the corner, but then across the street it looks like crap. So what are we going to do to fix it up?
I guess every question gets a response. So, and by saying across the street, I don't think you mean Lakewood. So, right, you're talking about the south side. We understand that part of the value of of the whole block is that reinvestment lifts all participants. I'm so glad to see both the owner and the tenant for Anytime Fitness, what that's brought to the community in terms of eyes and presence on the street. The smallest retail spaces has probably the second or third most productive Starbucks located in it. You don't need to say how vibrant and strong this area is. We do have work to do with owners. I'm not going to call out any particular owner at this time, but with Cadell Improvement, with the Merchants Organization, we're saying to all of the owners. I see Steve Presser here, who brought big fun over to create bigger fun on Clifton. We have some more. Bo, you had questions about local proprietary businesses, and in the other retail space, there are local proprietors that'll be there, and some very unique ones. So we have work to do. What we do is we have through our development organization, we try not to lower the boom on businesses, but to raise the bar and ask them to reach it. So the south side of Clifton, we're expecting to have that property reach the level of presentation that all the other properties on Clifton reach, and we're already working to do that, and we will continue to do it through our good outreach and good efforts and good cooperation of all the area merchants. Matt wants to add to that also.
Excellent question. A couple things that we're definitely going to do. We're going to pull off the shelf some old dusty plans that have happened a while back. I spoke to Drew Siley, the planning director in Lakewood, as well as Mary Louise Madigan. We're going to look at a comprehensive look of West 117th from the Rapid Station all the way down to Edgewater. How can we re-envision that as our important gateway to our neighborhood? One of the reasons on the south side is, we have a good quality diner, and we have Twist, but we have Naja's is closed down, and Charter One is closed down and abandoned us. We're bringing a financial service potentially with this development opportunity, but what you need here is you need vibrancy. And what this proposal calls for is 5 commercial businesses that will create vibrancy on Clifton. Across the street on the south side, that's going to be able to allow us to create some vibrancy there, polish it up a little bit, get some good tenants, and create some real vibrancy along Clifton Boulevard as well. So there are things that are in the planning process, and it's all going to happen soon. Thank you.
Steve Presser. I live in Cleveland Heights, and I own Big Fun at 115th and Clifton. I'm one of the few East Siders that actually comes over, crosses the bridge, long before I open my store, so I'm very familiar with the West Side. Thank you. Everything's right about this neighborhood. You've got great demographics. You've got a good, very affluent neighborhood. You've got what I call transiency in the way of apartments, easy access to the highway, easy access to downtown. And yet my business isn't doing well there. And I've been hanging in there, and it's not a pity comment here. The only thing that I can think of that this neighborhood is missing is walkability and easy pedestrian-friendly neighborhood. So, the RTA plan is great. It's going to be, the technical term is traffic calming. That street, I put up a really expensive sign because I know 30,000 cars come by, but they basically fly by from downtown to Westlake to Rocky River. So by condensing the street and traffic calming, it'll help all of us. The design that I see there, and I don't ride a bike that often. I mean, I collect them, but I do ride. But I have a lot of friends who are avid bicyclists. I would recommend to the design and architect to have some bicycle-friendly racks in the front, so it looks like, hey, we're welcoming you. To the individual over there who mentioned about Gateway, I just opened up a store in short north of Columbus. It is a vibrant neighborhood. It screams, we want you to come there and stay there. Public art, I'd love to see public art welcoming people to Cleveland, because that really tells you want them to stay. And for us retailers, I want to be really selfish here. I want people to walk from that block down to my block, because we have wonderful stores like Flower Child, and Torso came from a foreign country, Columbus, and they opened up next door to me. I came from a foreign country called Cleveland Heights and opened up there. I would love to see this neighborhood be what it is, a neighborhood for the community, strollers, people walking dogs, and people shopping.
Before Matt speaks, you can't really see them, but there are planned, and we don't have them finalized, but we do have 2 to 3 bike racks out front. We will have bike racks, where we can along the building in the back. That comment has been made. We are sensitive to it, and we understand that that is a fairly significant form of transportation for a lot of people in the neighborhood. So we want to make sure there are places that people can legally rent. Absolutely.
Steve, right? So I like to look at physical development as an opportunity to infuse artistic element in everything we do. I represent West 65th in Detroit, the Gordon Sparks District, and we wove into that fabric artistic creativity. I sponsored the City's Percent for Arts legislation, so we're going to make sure that this street is popping and humming, and it's going to be artistic and funky and unique for that particular neighborhood. That neighborhood's very different than 65th in Detroit. It needs to be treated accordingly to a historic and architectural perspective. But it's going to be fun, it's going to be whimsical, and we're going to make sure that not only there are cool bike racks, but there's public art woven into this development as we move forward. Again, that's part of the master planning that will come later along West 117. Councilman Westbrook and myself have been engaged at RTA on a public art program that we have as part of that Clifton project. So you're going to see a lot of that come represented through in those plans to come out soon.
My name is Mike Flickinger, and I live at 115th and Edgewater, about a block away. And to the Giant Eagle representative, I shop at your store today. I'm looking forward to be able to walk to this store. Thank you for investing. This plan is so much more improved than the previous plans. As residents that live, a couple hundred feet, we saw plans. I wanted to thank Brian, Jay, the developers. It's significantly improved. So you have listened. What I would ask the city, and I know it was mentioned, many of us would like to see the portico of the church saved. At that spot impossible, it wouldn't affect, and that's for later meetings. But for tonight, thank you. This is a much improved, good plan. I'm looking forward to walking and doing my shopping.
Hi, Nick Family. I live here on 104. My question is, a lot of this plan, or the plan is contingent on the church coming down. I know we don't want to get into too much tonight, but there seems to be a lot of holes for the future for the city, so maybe this question is more for the city. In order to tear the church down, there has to be a decision to be made, the decision has to be made, but the question is, will the city commit to having a master plan for the rest of the site? I mean, you're asking people to tear something down with no plan for the future, for at least a good portion of this. So I'd like to hear from the city about a commitment, how to plan the rest of it, other than just say, well, the legislation has to change, or we need to give people land, or anything along that line.
Jay or Matt? Chris?
We can all try this. Well, I think that, first of all, what you see tonight is as extensive and as full as plans are to date in concepts. There's been full disclosure about everything that is underway. It seemed to me, I think you're right, and I addressed it. Chris came back to it and underscored it also, that in order to accomplish these elements, the removal of the church in its current form is absolutely necessity, and so there's been no hidden agenda about that. What has been an ongoing discussion is preserving elements, and there's been a very genuine effort by the city to engage along with the stakeholders and other advocates to explore the possibility of doing that. Chris talked about preserving elements on site. There's also the possibility of preserving elements in other venues. I've given this a lot of thought, and I guess that we can't have an action until you engage in the process of trying to figure it out.
Can I just clarify?
Yeah.
The gray bar that sits up there, that's just a vacant spot, future,
Yes.
phase 2 or whatever.
Yeah.
We've heard town owned, we've heard park, we've heard anything, but a lot of that needs legislation. Well, we'd like to have that plan in place before we say yes to tearing down.
Well, yeah. Well, I hear you, and I'm not sure that everybody heard it. Nick said again, he'd like to see would it be fair to say the eventual use of that ban? I keep calling it a ban, I don't know what else to call it, a parcel, I guess. A parcel, you would want to see the final disposition of that parcel decided before the church came down. I have to say that I think there's very strong feelings on both items, green space, preserving an element of the church or housing. And we're certainly not prepared tonight to say that there's been a good vetting, a thorough vetting. There's been a vetting of it, but there's not a thorough vetting. And they're not just apples and apples. Housing, brings one set of values, green space, and as Chris outlined, it's also been fully disclosed, the city is not in the new park business. The city is definitely in the try to spend the resources we have on the parks that we have. And so there's not been any, both with the stakeholders and at the public meeting today, and there's been full disclosure about that. So, I guess I'd invite you to maybe give some thought to how that deliberative process could occur toward those two potential outcomes, and maybe give us some more feedback on it. It looks like Matt has some comments too.
Nick? Okay. So when I make a decision, I base that on multiple variables. This site plan calls for the church to come down. Whatever goes in that site must be, not should be, must be spectacular. I don't know what that is yet. You heard Chris Warren say we're doing due diligence in terms of gathering the data of what the cost will have be to deconstruct the church, save particular elements. But there are real dollars associated with that. So whatever happens there will be spectacular. It might be difficult, almost nearly impossible to have the metro parks take it over. I know that question came right from there. They like to have these contiguous green spaces that have connectivity. They typically don't take anything, and I'm almost fairly certain they wouldn't take this. It's worth a shot. We can have that conversation. But whatever happens there, whether it's green space or housing, it needs to be spectacular. You're looking at dimensions that are essentially 70 feet deep by, I think the block's about 300. So whatever that is, it will be spectacular. In terms of will there be a master plan in place, we're going to start that process. There will be another meeting, another conversation. We're going to work with the stakeholders group, many of them who are in this room here, who have very divergent opinions about what should happen. And I think that's the beauty, and I want to congratulate Councilman Westbrook for convening the stakeholder group. We've had some very spirited conversations, and we've even disagreed, but we've done that civilly. We're going to continue to do that. But you have my commitment that whatever goes on that space is going to be spectacular. No, there's no date for demolition.
I'm Marilyn from Clifton Plaza Apartments. No one's mentioned the little key bank building in the shadow of the church, and I wondered what was going to become of it.
The Key Bank building is actually, and we have spoken with Key Bank about this, that building will come down, but it will be replaced with a walk-up ATM that will be positioned right about there. Well, the building can't stay where it is and have this development occur and accomplish the land swap. The city approached us, because when we first showed this concept to the city, it was only on our 3/4 of the block. They then came to us and asked us to consider a land swap to square off the retail parcel, bring it all to the south, so that there is that continuous strip of land along Lake. In order to do that, the Key Bank building could not remain. In addition, for those of you who are familiar with that Key Bank building, it's not in particularly great condition. Key Bank would much prefer to have the walk-up ATM. It's much more conducive with the way banks are doing business now. And so that is the plan. We have spoken with them about it. They are eager for that to happen. Well, Key Bank has a lease, so they are going to stay there.
Brent Eisenbach, West 106. Is the city providing any financial incentives or tax incentives for this redevelopment?
No. I wish.
Not directly. Two things come to mind, though, that will be out there. One will be, if we do, and it's an if, do proceed with the demolition, that's on the city's dime. The city will have to, and we've identified right now about $250,000 that's out there that we've earmarked in case it's needed. So that's a city expenditure. Now, is that a direct subsidy to the shopping center? No. Is it indirect? Yes, because they're saying they're going to go through, the precondition of this development is our demolition. So just being totally honest with you, there is an investment that would be required for that plan. The other part is that we are looking at the possibility of agreeing to take the proceeds of our sale. Remember that lot I talked about on 116th Street? We're going to sell that to them at fair market value. We might pump that money back into helping to pay for some of the treatments people spoke about and people in the stakeholders group spoke about. That is public art, Matt spoke about, Jay, bike racks, things like that. So that would be two relatively small kind of forms of public investment.
Alice Forsyth Boley, and I live at West 113th and Lake Avenue. I'm a little concerned with the smallness of the grocery store, 15,000 square feet, primarily the bottom level, and it sounds like the top level, from what you had said, is mostly going to be restaurant, bar, wine, beer type thing. I'm sure there must be a ratio, and I'm sure that's been looked at as to how much parking area there has to be for the size of the store that's being built. My question is, do we need as much parking there as we do, or could we enlarge that store? And can you give us an example of a store, like what's the size of the Lakewood store or Heinen's store? What's that square footage in relation to 15,000 square feet here?
Thank you for that question. We actually, I think it was mentioned earlier about how many renditions we went through this site plan. 27 was thrown out. That's being very kind. We must have gotten 100 or more. It's just been very challenging to combine the use that we want to bring to this site and also the parking as well. And what you see here is actually well below what we would require. We generally go for 5 per 1,000. We've backed off on that here, gone with less parking, because we do realize and understand that this is not only a transit-oriented community, but something in which pedestrian access is very, very key. So we have actually backed off that number of parking spaces to again, because of the transient, the other alternative forms of transportation that folks can use to access this facility.
Let me just add, all years the Giant Eagle was on that corner.
There was adequate parking, and it was never full, never.
Yeah, so on site, and Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, we have how many? 118 spaces? And then off-site, which is the satellite site, which is primarily for team member, employee parking, things of that sort. So we not only look at quantity, but we look at quality of parking spaces. If there's a parking space that is far away from the store or whatnot, then customers will be less inclined to park there and try to get closer to the facility. So we're respecting that with trying to get our employees off-site, encourage transit type of opportunities to come and go. But just as an example, we've got a market district store that's under construction in Strongsville, 97,000 square feet, got 950 parking spaces. The difference between that community and this community is apples and oranges. Again, with having the opportunity to feed off some of the transit orientation is what our vision is for this property.
Example of another store so that we can get an idea of size. And the other thing is Giant Eagle considered doing any takeout, like people can call in orders that would be delivered. There is a grocery store on 117th that does that. Also that provides customer transportation for people if they buy a certain amount.
So at our market district stores, Solon in particular, I'll just talk about that, we do have what's called a curbside express option in which folks can phone in orders and then our team members shop for them basically and have that those products ready for them when they arrive and load them in their vehicle. We're still evaluating a lot of different amenities within the store. That certainly is not out of the realm of possibility. We're trying to make this as convenient as possible for folks, but also wanted to make it a unique experience where people will be engaged to come in the store, not to just avoid it and choose for simple convenience to avoid some of the facilities. Yeah, so the size of the building, again, this is unique. We've not built a store like this. We have one that is under construction in Pittsburgh now. That'll be 15,000 square feet total, unlike what we're doing here with the two-story option. So we really don't have anything that is comparable to what we're proposing right now. Lakewood, I believe, the grocery store, I think it's around 60,000 square feet.
How big is the grocery store that was on the property? Similar?
The grocery store that was there was about 18,800, and there was roughly another 5,000 or 6,000 square feet of retail. So we are taking what was about 24,000 square feet and building 30,000 plus another 8,800 square feet, 8,500 square feet with no additional parking. Basically exactly the same parking that I had before, other than the employee lot. And there are going to be considerably more employees, as an example, at this Market District Express than there were at the previous grocery store.
Jeff Blazek, West 110th Street. My question goes to, I appreciate the urban, kind of concepts that have been pulled into this. As someone who's lived here for going on 10 years now in the neighborhood, and who moved here ostensibly for the great assets and the architecture in one respect, I would like to ask, this is to Chris Warren, I guess. You mentioned that the city has identified $250,000 for demolition of a property. Given that the city's owned it for about a decade, what kind of maintenance or kind of just general upkeep has the city put into this asset?
Yeah, the city through its properties department maintains the property year in, year out. I don't have they go and they board it up and they cut the grass and they do that. Yeah, there have been, over the course of the years. Yeah, it's empty buildings are at risk. There's no question about that. But the city has a regular routine of maintaining it to the extent it can. So that's the answer to your question. Yes. Yes. Is it restored the building? No.
I guess what I'm asking is it gotten better? Is it maintained for the status? Is it what you would expect of another tenant in the city?
Well, I'm not here to kind of defend 15 years. But the question is, has the city over the last, 15 years that's owned it? Yeah. Probably not. Probably not.
Mike, can I add to that?
Go ahead.
The city took possession of the church in 2002. It was a gift, $1 from Giant Eagle, and the city has for 10 years owned it, and that was commensurate with the formation of the stakeholders group. And our mission and goal all along, and we were never under any pretense that the city could do historic preservation. Our goal was to try to nurture the property into a position of being reutilized and put into viable economic use. There are two processes that engage that question. One was a request for proposals that went out in a very formative group. Do I hear 50? No. There was a response to the request for proposals. It's a very formative group, attempted to incorporate the church into an economic development in 117th. That didn't bear out. One of the elements, one of the parties in that grouping, a very prominent construction and development firm, took a second effort at it, and that was one of the joint efforts that Peter referred to in his earlier remarks. That didn't bear out either. So two things I'd like for you to at least take away from my comments. One is the city never presumed that we were a redeveloper or a historic preservationist, and we never presented that to the public. We took it in a good faith effort to be the custodian to try to accomplish those goals. Third point is that I can attest, because I have the keys to the church and I am the de facto custodian of the church, that it was in very, very poor and deteriorated condition when we received it, and we've been racing against the clock of time ever since 2002. So I'd be happy to discuss this in greater detail with you. There's also some good histories on a variety of websites about the steps and the processes that were engaged. Mike.
Yeah, my name's Paul Medvick. I live on 108th Street. I remember those meetings back in 2002. I remember being at those meetings with somebody else from Giant Eagle about wanting to tear the church down. And it's kind of funny how the church is still there, but the Giant Eagle is not. Nice site plan, okay? Nice site plan. But I can remember back to the time when Giant Eagle wasn't such a good neighbor, when that was an eyesore over there. What has been done to conduct any kind of studies, any kind of research on the impact of this project, not only on the existing businesses and retail establishments, but also on the retail establishments up on 117th and I-90? Because what we don't need is another vacant retail space for years and years and years at 117th and Clifton.
I don't know who wants to address that, but
I'm not exactly sure what the question was. I can tell you that Giant Eagle would, I don't want to speak for Todd, but Giant Eagle and Carnegie would not be putting the effort, the time, the dollars into this project if we didn't believe it was going to succeed. We are, as is Giant Eagle, a private, for-profit enterprise. If we didn't believe that this was going to be successful, and we weren't prepared to do what was necessary to make sure that it's successful, then we wouldn't be spending our time. This is not the only property that we own. This is obviously not the only location that Giant Eagle has. I can also tell you that Giant Eagle, in our conversations with them, is very confident that this store and the store at 117th and 90 will not compete. If they thought they were going to compete, they wouldn't be here. They view these as complementary offerings. This is a store for people in the neighborhood. This is a store for the people who commute up and down Clifton. It is a convenient size. It is a convenient location. It brings unique features that you will not find at 117th and 90. Some people will prefer to continue to shop there, just as some people will prefer to go to Crocker Park and shop at Trader Joe's, go to Rocky River or wherever Heinen's is, Rocky River. But if we didn't believe that this was going to be successful, I can tell you, I certainly wouldn't have been working on various plans since the late 90s with a lot of different developers, a lot of different proposals. Unfortunately, as I said before, none of which, for various reasons, which I'd be happy to talk to you about, have gotten beyond the conceptual stage.
I appreciate that. At the same time, Carnegie Companies' success and Giant Eagle's success doesn't necessarily put the neighborhood success. At the same time, what has been done to conduct any kind of studies on the impact of the other businesses that shouldn't even be?
So the question is, are there any studies done on impact on neighboring businesses?
Well, let me say, not a study, but the stakeholders group, and you said it here tonight, vibrancy. Vibrancy means retail opportunities. People aren't just going to look at the architecture, they're going to either engage in some activity in a commercial district. I think that I'm confident that what we've seen tonight reaches that standard of vibrancy. I know that many of the merchants are here, and many have cried the blues since retail left that block, because there needs to be a draw to the community. There needs to be a reason that people come, in addition to those of us walking there or biking. And so, there's really 6 blocks of commercial activity on Clifton and 117. That's a very small shoe to fit a lot of opportunity into. This is one of the most powerful economic engines on the west side of Cleveland, and maybe in Cleveland as a whole. So how to right-size the buildings, how to right-mix the tenants, how to have various tenants working together in a way that creates the vibrancy that people say they want, is a task that all of us have to be engaged in, including developers and retailers. I think that we have heard consistently since retail left this block that this community wants appropriate size grocery shopping. Not 97,000 feet, in all due respect. I mean, the community walks, bikes, takes the bus, then walks home. Does a variety of things. A sit-down retail space where you can meet up with friends. I'll meet you when I get off of work, and we'll meet there. That kind of thing. That's what brings people. That's what brings economic vitality. I mean, if you question the strength of the area, go talk to Starbucks or go talk to CVS. They'll tell you how strong the area is. The area is stronger than we have retail opportunities to address. And so that's a concept to keep in mind. And I don't think that this is going to be I think the proof is in the pudding. This is not going to be a situation where one retailer sucks the life out of all the other retailers. This is an issue of synergy and vibrancy that people have said they want, and we've been hopeful tonight that you can judge for yourself. This isn't somebody just telling you what to think. We're showing you and giving you the opportunity to be engaged and involved directly. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Matt Wagner, and I live on Lake Avenue. And I had a quick question about Building B. Are you able to share with us the kinds of retailers you're targeting? You mentioned the financial services, merchant. Any others that you're talking to?
There is one other potential tenant that we are talking to. They are a local specialty food retailer. They would actually, the space that we're talking to them about would be this space here. Their concept would include some outdoor seating as well, but I don't have a signed lease with them, but yes.
Yeah, hi. My name is Mimi Elliott. I live on Herman Avenue, and I've known about this circumstance for quite a while and been involved from the beginning. My question is to the City of Cleveland, because whatever the future holds, the future holds. But right now, the property where the church is neglected, looks bad, is reducing the property values around it. The neighboring property owners that live and own property and are trying to send their kids through college on their mortgages, it is reducing the values. Just like the property at Watterson Lake, and if they're just standing there waiting to come down, and we can always just take a picture of them, and then, maybe do a little blurb about the history of Cleveland and how we used to have that church there. In the meantime, we live there every day, and it's affecting the property values, and I'm personally tired of looking at an unmaintained piece of property. I'm obligated to take care of my property. The city of Cleveland needs to do a better job at taking care of their vacant historic landmarks. Thank you.
Excellent question, Mimi. It was actually your boss that landmarked the building, Judge Pianca. And I will tell you, the thing that's very different with this site versus Watterson Lake is, at Watterson Lake, we have an end use. The school district has agreed to renovate that building. That's why it's fenced off, and we're going to renovate that. That's going to be the grand gateway to that school. We don't have an end use for this old historic structure.
How long has Watterson Lake
Can I answer your question?
Have we had to look at Watterson Lake like that?
Can I answer your question?
It has
So,
to be maintained now.
Mimi,
Now.
can we answer the question? So we do have an end use. The plan is going to be to build into Watterson Lake. We're not here tonight to talk about Watterson Lake. I was only using that for a comparison analogy that you have a beautiful, iconic building that is becoming a blight on the neighborhood, that is an eyesore, that has a lot of people concerned about its present condition, and there is no end game for it and for future redevelopment. Very different. We look forward to have that conversation down the road, and you should be a part of it.
Hi, my name is Gary. I live on the corner of 116th and Lake, and I know several of my immediate neighbors are here tonight. And could you use the red laser and show us the proposed traffic plan for the trucks, how they enter, where the loading dock is, and how they exit the property?
The proposed plan, and we believe the preference, because left turns will be limited there, so we believe that trucks will pull down 117th Street into the parking lot here. There are two types of deliveries that will take place. One will be the larger trucks. They will pull in here, back into this truck dock, which is going to be recessed. Will drop down. There will be a screen wall here, a one-story screen wall. There also will be the ability to pull down a door to close off that dock when it's not in use. And then the trucks will pull out and exit back onto 117th Street, turn left, and go back to the highway. As far as the smaller trucks, the box trucks, again, we envision that they will come in from 117th Street, pull out here. There's this parking area here. They will have, not really a parking area, a loading area, or an unloading area. They will have the ability to pull off out of the traffic flow here, unload their trucks with hand carts and whatever, and then pull out onto Clifton, turn right, and then again on down to 117th Street to the highway.
Good evening. My name is Jean Francis. I'm a proud homeowner on West Boulevard. What I'm hearing tonight is I hope that the city of Cleveland is committing to having a community meeting before the Fifth Church landmark, anything with it moves forward. My question is for Carnegie. Could you please talk about where the mechanicals will be located, as well as what type of lighting, the dumpsters, and some of the materials that will be used on the facades?
Well, I can't really speak specifically to the materials that will be used. We have to go through landmarks. We have to go through the Architectural Review Board. You've seen some concepts here. None of those are set in stone. Obviously, anything that is done at this site is going to have to meet the conditions and the qualifications of the city process and the city committees that we are going to have to go before in order to get approval. The mechanicals will be housed here. Again, this will all be screened from the street. You will not be able to see it. And there will be, to the extent possible, some of the mechanicals, for example, transformer, you can't put it in a covered area. It's going to have to be open. However, you can screen it with some kind of a screening on the top that will help dampen noise, but there has to be airflow in and out. But this is where the mechanicals for the store will be.
And Jean, there will be, there's a local design review committee that will be involved with elements of what does that exterior of that building look like, as well as the city staff design review. Several of those individuals who are on both of those committees were here tonight. That's an issue that keeps coming up, but this is a plan that is constantly evolving. And again, all of us realize this site, it needs to be special.
James Barnwell, I live on West 112th. My question's for the city of Cleveland. Basically from like Constantino's down up to 117th, trying to cross Clifton is like playing Frogger. What are you doing, for the residents as far as crosswalks, better street crossings, to help us get from one side to the other instead of playing dodgeball?
Thank you, James. I think many of you were here at a previous meeting about Clifton Boulevard. You realize that, and Joe Schaefer was here with us from RTA, and several of you have used the term traffic calming on Clifton. We, meaning the city, the public, I think just about everybody, recognizes that it's commuter-friendly and pedestrian hazard. And we are aiming to change that reality to some much more balanced rhythm, if you will, to the street. The landscaped traffic island, median, down the middle, will signal to traffic a much more calming feature. The signalization is, I know there was a lady here from Clifton Plaza, I think back here, and some of our friends at Clifton Plaza, which is on the north side at 115th, are actually feel that they're incapable and not invited to go to Starbucks on the south side at 115th because of the pedestrian signalization. It's going to be a much more intensive look at that and coordination of those pedestrian signals. And specifically, I think Peter just referred to it, but here at 116th, which has that flashing light, pedestrian crossing, and of course nobody looks at it, and all pedestrians take their own safety at risk, making that crossing. Our traffic engineer, Commissioner Mavick, has personally taken an interest in that intersection. There will be a feature on the west side of 116th at Clifton that will prohibit northbound turns from the eastbound lane, if that makes any sense to you. And I don't know if we can show that, but if you're eastbound on Clifton, trucks and vehicles would be prohibited from making a left turn, which would be northbound. And there will be an actual pedestrian safe zone at that intersection so that pedestrians can cross half the street, so to speak, and be in a safe zone there at that very dense and high trafficked pedestrian area.
I'm Brian. I live on West Boulevard. I just want to make sure that there will be another open meeting like this before the final design is approved, because to me right now, these are still very suburban strip mall stores just pulled to the street. And I don't think the architecture that is in these buildings are really appropriate for our neighborhood. I think we deserve something much better.
So I think the question was about another meeting.
Yeah.
Anybody wants to answer that? Will there be another meeting? I think we've already said that.
Well, a public meeting like this, not landmarks, not anything like something like this.
Well, there's, Chris Warren outlined public decision-making processes, which are public meetings. And those meetings are going to be highly publicized. The stakeholders group will meet to continue to give the city guidance and express interest and concerns. I think one of the reasons this meeting is so highly attended is because of the level of interest. And, you know, we're going to continue to take input, but stakeholders, council people, we're not the regulatory bodies. The bodies that are going to have to make these decisions are highly skilled, highly capable at making those decisions. And our responsibility is to take a process that's been germinating for a number of years, high levels of interest, lay it out, let people know what's underway, and we're going to trust that we've attained that very well tonight. We're going to continue to engage the community in the process.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Mike Christoph. I live over near 117th in Detroit. My one question with the plan, because I can appreciate how many iterations this has been through, and I think you've done a decent job at trying to address some of the urban design issues, but one of the things that's important about creating kind of contiguous pedestrian environments so that your pedestrian corridor there will be successful is really making sure you avoid things like where service and especially the transformers and that equipment has been placed. And so I think the kind of 101st iteration of this plan should probably try to find a way to deal with that a little more sensitively so that the part of the building that's right at the street isn't quite so harsh. And I'm sure there's a way. With the iterations that you started with to where you've gotten now, I know you have it in you, but I would strongly advise you consider trying to figure out how to deal with that a little more sensitively. I don't know if anyone has thoughts on that or just if it's a comment to take. It's about 5 after 8, so maybe a few more questions and we can adjourn.
Hi, I live on West 116th Street, and I think everybody's addressing the image of it being too harsh, there's too much light. It's a very easily resolved problem. There's a new law that's coming out in many cities. It's already started in Lakewood. It's called Dark Sky, and what it does, it eliminates all the harsh light so it doesn't look like a jet's going to land over this establishment. Basically what it does, it just beams the light straight down, it lights everything so it's safe. It's LED, it's green, it's friendly, it's what our neighborhood needs. It's an easy resolved problem.
Hi, I'm Tim. I live across the street over here. I have to say I agree about the mechanicals on the corner. I think I think this is a really good design, and I think it would be even better if that could be moved. And I want to know also what the cut away from the sidewalk is next to that corner. It just seems like that whole corner gets kind of abandoned to, as you're walking by it. It kind of seems like a nothing area.
Well, the issue that you run into, obviously, is because if you look at the way Clifton relates to the side streets, it isn't a square, it's a angle. Thank you. And obviously, it is difficult for a retailer to work with an angled building. So that blank area, actually, if you look at the elevation, that is a landscape area. You can just barely see it there, but there will be landscaping there. It will soften that line of the building. We are happy to take under advisement the concept of the mechanicals. However, at some point the choice comes down to, do you want trucks pulling out onto Clifton, which we can't have, or do you want, them hidden from the street and using 117th as access? And that's really the issue that you run into.
In this view here, the building B is going to obscure that side of the building, right? We wouldn't actually have this.
No, you actually will have this view, because building B will, if you notice...
Oh, the promenade is that wide?
Yeah. There's a courtyard, and then the promenade won't be, well, I think the promenade's about 25, 30 feet. So it's yeah. If you're standing, that view is probably from about here. So you will be able to see it.
The length of the truck, I'm sure you guys have a standard measure on the length of that truck, but if you actually move that facility south and open up the corner, and your truck, your curb cut moved alongside that, you actually brought your curb cut a little further up on 116. Could you push that in and move so your truck's sticking out of it, but you bring a curb cut to mess with it?
Well, I think part of it was a sensitivity to the people who live across the street not to leave the truck.
I'm always sensitive to Gary.
Well, also, we were sensitive to the pizza shop and not having a truck sticking out across the street from the pizza shop where people are eating. The other issue that you run into, Chris, is that if you move this farther south, you run into the problem of having room for the truck to actually back in there. Because there's limited space. I mean, these are, you have to plan for full-size trucks.
Right. Say this in the spirit, I think it's great that it's moved this way, the whole building. And you had a lot of progress. Because this moved here, the curb cut moved here. The truck stuck out a bit, but the curb cut, the parking lot's rearranged. It would seem like you gained back the space. You have sociability with the pizza shop. There's not too much impact up here. These homes have a back end of the road anyways. It's just something to think about. Because I think this corner is a common issue for a lot of people. It's a very social corner. If you just move it up, move the truck up, move the curb cut up, it seems like you can protect it. Little design to do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mark Matteo, and I live directly behind this. And first of all, I'd like to thank everybody for finally getting a plan where we would possibly be looking at some residential, which would be wonderful for us. My question is for Giant Eagle. Can you please tell us what departments, what food departments will not be available at this site? Meaning, I heard you say meat. Is it, with baking? What will not be available here?
And I appreciate that question. That's still being further evaluated. I can tell you that we're not going to have the meat, seafood, limited frozen, limited grocery, limited other arrangements. But we're still evaluating that. We obviously can't fit everything into this facility. We want to have it such that it is unique in that, and focus really on the freshness of the products that we offer.
My name is Matt Quinn. I live on 114th and Clifton. Just a quick comment about the architectural design of this. The Constantino's grocery store that moved into University Circle, I just was over there the other day, and I was really impressed about what they did just architecturally and how it looks. I really would prefer Constantino's to move in here, but what we get is Giant Eagle, with a lipstick on Giant Eagle. But I think that if we can turn it what University Circle did, I think this could be very impressive.
Thank you for your comment.
All right, let's take one more question here and wrap it up.
Hi, my name's Angela, and I live on 102. With all the discussion about parking lots, a long time ago it was a very ugly parking lot, and there's a lot more ways now to make things like greener, dealing with the stormwater runoff, all those types of things, and I wonder if maybe that might be addressed in that parking lot. I know you have trees, it looks like, but I think if we could do a really pretty green, water controlling parking lot, that would be awesome.
So as the site plan evolves, we'll continue to add landscape features. There's somewhat representative of what's shown tonight, but again, the plan is conceptual in nature. We'll continue to develop.
So there was a lot of really great comments tonight. what we're going to do is, all of those comments were taken, we took pretty copious notes. We're going to meet then with the stakeholder group. Many of you in this room are on that. We're going to continue to refine this plan, refine the landscaping, refine what the buildings look like, and you will be part of those conversations as stakeholders. As far as next steps, a larger community meeting. Jean, to particularly answer your question, we're going to continue to work. We have to get this data as to what the cost would be of taking that structure down, saving elements. So the first people to know are the stakeholders. You serve on that committee. You're going to know before others. I'm going to ensure that you're part of that process. This thing moving forward is going to be as transparent as possible.
And will there be another community meeting in the evening like this?
So that's something certainly to consider. You're making the request.
Yes.
You're putting it on the record in front of everyone here. So we're going to continue to do our due diligence. I can't promise something that I can't control, but there will be more public dialogue around this, whether it's a public meeting, a Landmarks Commission meeting, or other meetings. This plan is going to continue to evolve and change. I want to thank everyone here on behalf of the City of Cleveland for your thoughtful input, and turn it over to Mike for final comments.
I think you did a good job wrapping it up. I want to thank everybody.
Wait. One last thing. For those of you who didn't know, there's actually going to be an elevator in the Giant Eagle, 2 floors. If you're wondering how you're going to get up and down, you're not going to have to take your groceries up and down stairs. So there will be an elevator.
So thanks again to everybody. Thank you for following the rules. Good dialogue.
Why didn't you guys ever arrange for the Iowa?